Now, try switching between them by focusing on one word at a time.
What is up, you guys? I'm Charmx. Today I'm going to be reacting to Film Theory Don't Be Fooled Going Beyond Yanny Laurel by the film theorist. Now, what does this have to do with films? Like, I thought the film theorist was specifically about movies, but this seems like it's more of the Yanny or Laurel, you know, that optical illusion thingy. Well, it's kind of an optical illusion, but you know, I don't know. So anyway, with that being said, hopefully this will be interesting. The original link's in the description. Make sure you guys go subscribe to the Film Theorist. Without any further ado, let's begin.
If you thought Yanny versus Laurel was mind-blowing, you ain't seen, or should I say, you ain't heard nothing yet. Because this auditory illusion that popped up in the
Oh, I've seen this in another video. I forget which one I've seen this in, but this is crazy.
wake of Yanny versus Laurel is so much better. Unlike Laurel, most people can actually switch between what they're hearing with this one. In fact, the effect here is so strong you'll never be able to trust your own senses again. So even if you have heard of this one before, stick around, because to analyze the truth of what's going on in this one, we're gonna be unwrapping a whole slew of other illusions that prove just how lazy and easy to manipulate our brains actually are. First, just listen. Don't go down in the comments yet.
So it's either green needle.
What did you just hear? Did you hear this word? Or did you
brainstorm?
hear this?
See? Oh, it's crazy, because it can go between both of them. It's just a power of suggestion and your mind.
Now, try switching between them by focusing on one word at a time.
See? That's crazy. That's
If
crazy.
everything's going according to plan, you should be able to switch between them based on which word you have currently in your vision. And now, here's the original video, which, as you watch it, should actually strengthen your perception of green needle. But here's the kicker. What's actually being said here is brainstorm. That's the character's name from the show Ben 10 where this toy originates. But how all this works is gonna blow your mind. Blow your ears. Wait, no, that just sounds painful. Anyway, hello internet. Welcome to Film Theory, the show that's entirely justified in covering this topic today, since I sometimes cover the science, psychology, and lore of YouTube videos. So by this point, I'm sure.
Okay, that's how you justify it. So that's what I was asking you. Like, what does this have to do with movies?
We're all familiar and totally sick of the Yanny-Laurel debate, right? Laurel. Last stats I saw, 47% of people were able to hear Yanny and 53% were able to hear Laurel. Let me give you another shot here. Laurel. Honestly, for the life of me, I can only hear Laurel until, of course, you start pitch shifting it. And honestly, that's my—
I've heard it both ways. I've heard it Laurel, and I've heard it Yanny, but I think I've heard it Yanny in the car, and I've heard Laurel like elsewhere, or I don't know, it was one of the two. Like, it depends where you're also listening to. It, I don't know, it changes depending on the speaker or whatever.
My big problem with this auditory illusion. Most people are stuck only hearing one of the two, and they have a really hard time hearing the other one without some kind of big change. Whereas most people are able to switch between the brainstorm green needle audio pretty darn easily. In fact, I can even control it for you. I don't even have to show the words. How cool is this? But here's the best part. Unlike Yanny Laurel, where the final explanation about what was really going on was quite honestly kind of boring, talking about higher and lower frequencies being overlaid and different sound qualities coming out of different speakers, blah, 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 yawn. The reasons behind why we experience the brainstorm green needle auditory illusion actually reveal a lot about how our brains function, how lazy they are, and how unreliable our senses can be. So get ready to start distrusting yourself, because here we go.
The power of suggestion, folks. The power of suggestion.
To begin, scientists would classify the brainstorm green needle illusion as an example of what's known as bistable perception, where a stimulus is just too ambiguous for human senses to process with only one interpretation. These are the sorts of illusions that allow you to switch between how you're seeing them. In the case of our Ben 10 friend, it's how you're able to hear on one playthrough and just as well on a second playthrough. But auditory illusions like this this are incredibly rare. Most bistable stimuli are visual, like the Schroeder staircase, where you can either see the staircase going up and to the left, or you can see an upside down staircase going down and to the right. There's the
I think I'm gonna really enjoy this episode. I think I'm gonna really enjoy it because I love optical illusions and things that mess with your mind. Because I don't know, I've always been fascinated with them, and yeah, I'm loving this so far. So I can only assume for the rest of it I'm gonna love.
time classic faces versus vases, or you
I
can
love
always
that
go
one.
with the internet's favorite, the twirly girly, where as you watch you can actually see her spinning in one direction, then all of a sudden out of the blue she'll just switch directions. Scientific surveys have shown that most people start seeing her rotating clockwise, a 65-35 split, but I swear I never could see her going anything but counterclockwise until actually working on this episode. Then I just used the arrow keys to have YouTube jump forwards and backwards by 5 seconds to break the flow of the image briefly. Suddenly I was able to see it moving in both ways. It is crazy.
No, I can see it moving
if you're
both
like
ways
me and
now,
having
too.
trouble seeing it rotating in the opposite direction, try that. I'll give you a few seconds to buffer while I deliver you a musical interlude.
Twirly curly, twirly curly, twirly curly, twirly curly, twirly curly.
Oh, and by the way,
That was unexpected. That was unexpected, Matt.
don't believe online articles that say which direction you see her spinning determines your dominant brain hemisphere, or it's an indicator of how smart you are. Science has actually debunked all of that.
Well, guys, it turns out I am not a genius.
One of the other interesting wrinkles of Brainstorm Green Needle is that it's a cross-modal problem, which means that it involves multiple different senses, hearing and sight. Yanny versus Laurel is just auditory. You see, our brains are constantly piecing together bits of information from all of our senses to form solid ideas of objects and events in the world around us. Usually, these pieces of information complement and confirm each other, thereby improving the reliability of our perception. But when things don't match up in the way that the brain expects, that's when you get some weird results. Here's one of my all-time favorites, the motion bounce illusion. Watch these two balls pass through each other. Nothing super remarkable, right?
Oh, it looks like they bounce. It looks like they bounced off each other when they got to like that singularity point, but really they just kept on going across. That's what it looked like. Okay, that's cool. That's cool.
Now watch it again. Did the balls pass through each other again, or did they bounce off of each other?
The first time I saw it, I thought they bounced off each other.
Watch them bounce again.
You're adding the sound
exact
effect.
same thing I showed you the first time, but your brain perceives the balls bouncing off each other because the sound triggers it to think that there was some sort of collision happening. It's using past experience of balls coming together coupled with the sound that it's hearing to inform what you're seeing, and it's telling you that you should be seeing a collision, and your perception adjusts accordingly.
But I saw it friggin' bounce without the sound effect added. The first time I saw it bounce. And then I thought to myself, oh, it's supposed to look like it went through. Which I guess it did, but I saw it bounce.
Same is true for this next illusion. How many times do you see Deadpool's face appear on screen? Twice, right? Let's try it again.
I saw it once.
Twice again.
Just once.
Now let's slow it way down while keeping the sound in. You see that it only happens once. This phenomenon is called the sound-induced flash illusion, where the sound was influencing what you were seeing happening on screen. So again, we get an example of a cross-modal illusion, where our sense of hearing is affecting our perception.
Is there something wrong with me? Is there something wrong with my brain or something? I didn't get fooled by it. Maybe my IQ is so high.
Sight. And it's not just limited to those two senses. Both hearing and sight can affect touch too. Take for instance the marble hand illusion, which is pretty darn wild. Scientists hit participants' hands with a small hammer while playing a noise. The noise starts off as just the sound of a hammer hitting skin, but it slowly transitions to the sound of a hammer hitting marble. And get this, across the board the test subjects reported their hand feeling heavier, stiffer, and harder. But if you think that was crazy on its own, get this. The test also showed their skin conductance, or the electrical conductivity of their skin, also went down, just like you would see out of an object made of stone. Let's try something else. Put on headphones and start rubbing your hands together like this in 3, 2, 1.
Yeah!
Felt pretty normal, right? All right, let's try it again in 3, 2, 1.
Yeah!
Your hands should have felt moister that time, did they? Now stop rubbing those gross moist hands of yours and let's—
They didn't really feel
Moist.
they felt like they felt like they were getting hotter, which I guess that's because friction.
Let's try one more time in 3,
Okay,
2,
come on.
1. There, that should have helped dry them off for you. This phenomenon is called the parchment hand illusion, where sound is directly influencing your sense of touch. You are basically feeling the feelings that the sounds are telling you to feel. Feels pretty good, and wet and moist and sticky, which is just kinda weird. Sure, all this is fun and
I don't think I noticed it. There's probably something wrong with my head.
games, but how do all these cross-modal illusions apply to Brainstorm and Green Needle? Well, look at the original video. Notice how the podium flashes 3 times. Even though the toy is officially saying brainstorm, the word brainstorm is only 2 syllables. But we're—
Oh, green needle. So you can think it's both because of the flashing, so your brain associates that with syllables, I guess. I don't know. That's pretty crazy.
seeing 3 flashes from the toy, which seems like they should coincide with the syllables that we're hearing. Our brain is looking to hear a 3-syllable phrase that'll match up with the cadence of those flashes, and the phrase that best matches is green needle, or other things that are kind of close. But obviously that can't be the whole story here, because as I demonstrated at the top of the episode, you were able to hear both brainstorm and green needle without me ever showing you a video clip. All it
Yeah, because he's actually saying brainstorm.
took was hearing the audio and seeing the words. And this is perhaps the biggest differentiator with Yanny versus Laurel, because no amount of me showing you Yanny on screen while playing the audio is gonna get you to hear it if you can't already. Well, it turns out that one of the major reasons we hear and are able to switch between the words brainstorm and green needle is because of the psychological process of priming, where your brain gets preconditioned into one thought pattern and thus tries to fit new stimuli into the pattern moving forward. For instance, let me talk to you about how much—
I love all this psychological stuff. It's so cool. Like the optical illusions, as well as like you know, the powers of suggestion and that kind of stuff. Oh, it's crazy. I should have gone to school to be a psychologist or something. But then again, I wouldn't want to deal with crazy people. I mean, I can barely deal with myself.
I love showers. Now, that might seem a bit weird for me to talk about right now, but sometimes I just can't help it. I love talking about and taking showers. I love getting clean. I love washing my hair. I like singing and thinking in the shower. I love the shower. I love the shower. I also got a confession. I love washing my hands in the sink. I use Old Spice in water, or Dove in water mostly, but sometimes if I'm feeling particularly wild and slippery, I'm not opposed to the occasional Irish spring in water. But enough about my bathing and hygiene habits. If I were to ask you to complete this word that you see on screen right now, what would you
Soap, but it's not soap. It could be soup, I guess. Is it soup?
say? Most people at this point should
Because you were just talking about soap, so your brain goes to that kind of thing.
say soap, thanks to the effect of priming, specifically associative priming. I got you thinking in the pattern of bathrooms and washing, which makes
Could be
you much
soup.
more likely to see those letters and think soap rather than things like step, stop, seep, or any of the other words that fit that pattern. Now, when it comes to brainstorm versus green needle, when you choose to focus on one of the 2 words on screen to try and switch what you're hearing, that's direct priming in action. You're using visual stimuli to trigger your brain into thinking along a certain pattern, and what you hear is affected accordingly. Honestly, if I were to say brain needle and then show you the words brain needle and then play the clip for you,
But so there's 3 possible outcomes of it. That's crazy. That's crazy.
there's probably a pretty strong likelihood that you just heard brain needle. And that
I did just hear brain needle. See that? Oh, so awesome.
isn't even one of our options. It's priming in its prime. You've been primed in a way that the Yanny Laurel auditory illusion could never do. So
Now, could you do green storm instead of brainstorm? Whatever. Could it be green storm?
in short, I hope today's episode proved 2 things for you. First, that your senses are actually completely unreliable. We can't—
Well, see, I guess it did kind of prove that my senses are unreliable, but at the same time, like doing this thingy I didn't feel like my hands were wet really, and then some of the other things that we did, it didn't really trick me or whatever. Like the weird balls, you know, bing or whatever. That didn't like fool me. But the green needle thing, that thing, like yeah, that one that one I can switch between all of them. It's crazy.
Can't count on our brains to tell us anything accurately.
Anyway, guys, I hope you liked this video. This was awesome. This was awesome. As I said, I love, you know, these kinds of like psychological things. Like it's so crazy. I love them so much because of, I don't know, the power of suggestion. Just being able to trick the mind so easily like that, I think is really cool. But yeah. Anyway, I hope you like this video. It's kind of weird that a bunch of the things that we did in this, you know, that didn't actually trick me. And that's weird. Is there something wrong with my head? I mean, probably. Anyway, with that being said, if you like this, give it a thumbs up, possibly share with a friend. If you're new, subscribe to the family. Also, make sure you guys go subscribe to the Film Theorist, and I'll see you guys next time. Boop.